You're listening to a special edition of the Just Go Bike podcast. That's AKA Murph.
And that's AP. And this is the podcast where we talk about cycling just for the fun of it. With tales from all over the nation, come for the bikes, stay for the fun, and leave with a smile.
On this special edition, we are going to provide you with daily tales from the trail as we ride our bikes across the state of Iowa as part of the 18th annual RAGBRAI Route Inspection Team.
Well, hey, we have completed day 3 of the RAGBRAI Pre-Ride Inspection Ride. How are you feeling, AP?
Well, I'm a little tired, but it was just a fun day. Today was a good time all around.
It was a good day, and we don't want to talk about the weather because who knows what it'll be like when real RAGBRAI comes through, but it definitely affected our day today.
Yeah, and the route and the towns and
yes,
all of the above. So let's get into it.
Let's get right into it.
Yeah. So on the RAGBRAI, it will be Tuesday, July 25th, and we're going to ride from Carroll to Ames for day 3. And the theme is RAGBRAI Jersey Day.
Okay.
Yeah. So the mileage of today was 82 miles, and we did 1,518 feet of climb. So as you notice, that's quite significantly less than the first day.
As far as elevation?
Yes.
Yeah. And it's also, today was the Century Loop. So if you are ready to do 100 miles, you can today.
And many of our riders were, and they seem to really enjoy it.
Yeah.
So it's an actual loop, and we identified a couple places that would be really good for a patch stop. So we are teeing the ride up for a fun day.
Yes. So speaking of fun, we should talk about how we closed out our time in Carroll last night because it was really, really fun.
Yeah. So we first of all, we headed to the Stella Rosa Winery, as you know.
Yes.
And
we podcasted from there.
And then after that, I believe some of the other riders went to a distillery, but we were podcasting, so we missed that.
Yes.
But then from there, we went to I don't know if you'd call it a combination of a man cave and a she shed because it's a couple that owns this location, but it was a really cool, let's call it a party palace.
Yes. I mean, it literally felt like a full on bar, but they were very adamant about saying that this is our private space.
Well, yeah.
It was so cool. And there was an awful lot of sports memorabilia, so I would lean towards more of a man cave, but and I did count 3 full-size refrigerators in this space.
Wow.
Yeah.
And there's also, so it was mostly Hawkeye memorabilia.
There was some Iowa State, though.
There was some Iowa State, and there was a secondary parrot theme, so I loved it.
So this actual space, apparently it did not look nice when they first purchased it, but it was formerly known as the Kelly Coin Company. The building has all kinds of history attached to it, which is really cool. They told us all about it, but we have to give a shout out to Linda and Michael. They were our hosts. They own the space, and they obviously have hosted a lot of parties.
Yeah, it was just so much fun, and it was a nice way to unwind after all the biking we did that day.
Yeah, and the catering was done by a company called Liddendale Country Store. It was amazing food, and he told us that he's going to be catering for Pork Belly. Ooh. So if you, the listener, are going to be doing RAGBRAI with Pork Belly Ventures, you're in for a treat because it was really good food.
Yeah, we both kind of looked at each other and were like, maybe we should visit Pork Belly in Carroll. It was delicious.
Yes, Tammy, if you're listening to this podcast, we may be coming to visit you. But anyway, And we also were treated to some Templeton Rye samplings, which I'm sure everyone who has heard of Templeton Rye knows that that's manufactured here in Iowa.
Yeah.
And they had, probably 5 different types of, was it whiskey or bourbon? I'm sorry, I'm not very good at that kind of stuff.
I think it's rye whiskey.
Whiskey, okay. Yeah. But they were labeled as 4-year, 6-year, 10-year, which I assume is how long they've been sitting in a barrel. I don't know. Yeah. I was a big fan of the 6-year, just so you know.
Very good. Yeah, it was really, really fun. And then beyond that, some of our other teammates went to Carroll Brewing Company afterwards for a nightcap. And by all accounts, they had a blast. And I would definitely recommend Carroll Brewing Company when you're there on the ride. Huge
space. They have their own beers, but then they also have other like great Iowa craft beers, and it's a really cool space. So yeah. And then that was last night. And then today we kick off day 3.
Day 3. So our first town of the day, we rode for 9.3 miles, which is a really nice stretch to do before breakfast. Just kind of stretch the legs out, get hungry, get ready for Glidden. And right on the edge of town of Glidden, they have a beautiful cemetery. It's called the Merle Hay Memorial Cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not familiar with Merle Hay, it's not just a mall in Des Moines. Merle Hay is the first soldier who was killed in World War I.
Oh, wow.
So everything is memorial to him. And they had beautiful flags set out, or flying in the cemetery to welcome us. And it was just a cool way to enter into the community.
Yeah. I will also say once we got into the community, there was a fire station.
There was a fire station.
How did you feel about that, AP?
It was fantastic. These were our first yellow fire trucks of the whole week.
Yes.
That we had seen, and they were made by the Toyne company that was in Breda from yesterday.
I know. I think we both kind of talked about this earlier today, that maybe we need to make a road trip to the Toyne factory and like really see, especially since you have such a obsession with fire trucks.
It would be really amazing if they would be willing to have us.
Yeah.
So maybe someday that's on the bucket list.
Yeah.
So yeah. So the other things I'd like to say about Glidden, this will be our second visit to Glidden.
Oh,
the
nice.
last time we were there was 1981.
Oh my gosh.
So it has been a while. They are extremely excited to welcome us.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be ready. Their theme is Gear Up in Glidden. So I think that's going to be a good deal. Glidden is named after a railroad promoter named Captain W.T. Glidden.
Okay.
Or Joseph Farwell Glidden, who invented barbed wire. No one is sure who it was.
What?
Yeah.
Barbed wire was invented in Glidden.
No, the person whose last name was Glidden invented the barbed wire. Oh. But they're not sure which of the Gliddens it was named after.
Okay, all right.
But I think either way, that's pretty cool.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, once you, have your breakfast or whatever in Glidden, you've got quite a long trek ahead of you at 24 miles into Jefferson. But we did meet up with, I guess you'd call it a family farm, a family business. I'm not sure what we can call that. But it was called Green Goods, Greene Goods. And they are hosting RAGBRAI's first hemp maze.
Oh my.
I cannot wait to see what this is all about.
I didn't think hemp plants are very large. I guess I don't know.
Right. I didn't think they were very large either. But
I guess shows what I know.
Hemp is not the same as like marijuana. So don't even think that you're going to go into the Green Goods place and get in trouble.
Yeah.
So no. They also are going to serve what they call pigtail sausages. Mm-hmm. So if you think of what a pig's tail looks like, it's curly. They have, it's kind of like breakfast sausage, and they're going to put these on a stick. And I think they're charging like $5, but I don't eat sausage, but everyone that sampled them were very excited.
Yeah, it was a tasty breakfast sausage. And we had those samples in Jefferson. So Jefferson is our next town. And we rode 23.9 miles to get there, and it was a really nice 23.9 miles, I would say. Hardly any hills at all. There was one hill. My bike computer said that we had 3 hills today, and that was one of them. Also on the way into Jefferson was the Deal's Orchard, and if you're familiar with Jefferson, then you probably love Deal's Orchard because they have an incredible apple pie that I highly recommend.
Okay, good.
Maybe get one for your driver as a treat.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you can really carry one on your bike, but give it a shot.
Yeah. And this Green Goods farm was also before you got into Jefferson. So keep your eye out for that. They said they would have plenty of signs and things like that, especially if you want to have try out a pigtail sausage or do the hemp maze.
There you go. This will be our 6th visit to Jefferson. The last time we were there, we stayed overnight in 2018, and it's really cool. Jefferson is known for their bell tower. And
it's amazing.
The last time we were there, their theme was Highway to Bells. So it's definitely a staple, and you can see it as you ride into town.
Mm-hmm. And Jefferson is all along what's called the Lincoln Highway Heritage Byway. We saw signs all the way getting into it. And a shout out to my, where I live, because the Lincoln Highway Heritage Byway goes right through the community that I live in. So it was kind of fun. They memorialized it. There's signs everywhere, but they also have a section of sidewalk that's painted like a little teeny green highway. So you could walk along it, and it's wiggly, and so it points out all the communities it goes through. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I need to say that their theme this year in Jefferson is one bell of a ride, which is amazing
Nice.
because it plays off of their bell tower, but also from the RAGBRAI theme of one hell of a ride.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
Super clever. Love Jefferson. Jefferson is also home to the former Iowa columnist, Iowa boy Chuck Offenberger. So
Nice.
shout out to Chuck.
Yeah.
A lot of famous people from Jefferson.
And also tons and tons of murals everywhere. There was a cool bike one that I got a photo in front of, but just murals almost on every building that, you could put murals on. So keep your eye out for that, especially if you like to do some photo ops.
Yep. Jefferson was originally named New Jefferson after Thomas Jefferson, but eventually the new was dropped.
Oh.
Yeah. So.
But speaking of Thomas Jefferson, there was a beautiful garden that we hung out in.
There was. They have a sculpture of Thomas Jefferson himself.
Yes.
A lot of cool garden plants. I'm sure they'll have refreshed them for July because, flowers don't last too long.
Sure.
But it was a really wonderful place to take a break and sit and relax.
Yeah.
And enjoy.
And as we were leaving town, we also realized that there's a Freedom Rock there. So
Yes.
that's a great opportunity to, pay your respects and get some good photographs.
Yeah, and I don't know if some of you probably collect pictures of the Freedom Rocks, but this is definitely one you don't want to miss.
Yeah, I agree. Yep. Okay, so we leave Jefferson, and it is a short 14.1 miles into Rippey.
Which is our meeting town for the day.
Okay, and also, if you are a true Iowan who can ride your bike in the wintertime, you've probably experienced the Burr Ride, which stands for the Bike Ride to Rippey.
Yeah.
And it happens in February every year, and it's usually very, very cold.
Very, very cold.
Today it was not cold.
It was the opposite of that. Fun fact, this will be our third visit to Rippey, but when we rolled through in 1980, we visited Rippey twice. So 2 times in 1 year, and then this year.
No way. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, yes, and we headed straight for, I believe it was a library/community center.
Yeah.
And they had an incredible lunch for us of loose meat made right style sandwiches and pie.
It's so much pie.
It was so good.
I chose the apple pie today, so I just huge fan. I hope that they continue to do that.
Yeah, the apple pie was delicious.
Yeah.
So the Rippey was fantastic. We had a great break there. I highly recommend that you stay there. It'd be a great lunch town to get you ready for the hills to come.
Yeah. And one other quick thing with Rippey is there is a beautiful mural that you have to get your photo in front of. So
yes, absolutely.
Okay, so from Rippey, it's a stretch, 21.7 miles into the beautiful town of Luther.
Yeah. And when I said hills to come, I was at kind of an exaggeration because there's really only one hill. However, my bike computer counted one hill as 2 hills.
It was a beautiful down over a river, which of course I don't know which river, maybe the Des Moines River?
I don't know.
Okay. A river, a body of water.
Yeah.
And so it's a beautiful kind of curvy downhill. You get to the bottom and then you kind of see it in the distance. It's a steep uphill.
It's a hill. If you want to know what river it was, just ask Scott Olson. He'll tell you. But so it's one of those hills where you go up and it's a nice gradual slope. And then my bike computer goes, beep, beep, congratulations, you finished the hill. And I thought, I am still on the hill. I can still see a hill. And then it's like, you're starting another hill.
Oh.
So then it gets steeper and you continue to climb. But it's nothing you can't handle after day one.
After day one, yeah, you guys will all be pros.
It's
so you
like
don't have to worry about it.
Cakewalk. Yep. So then you head into Luther, and Luther is so welcoming and accommodating. This will be our 7th visit to Luther. They are old hat. They were also on the original route in 1973.
Nice. And they have, last time we came through Luther, there was a restaurant bar that had just opened called What Ya Smokin'.
Yeah.
And now it has expanded. It's like almost an entire city block. They have both a clubhouse, a restaurant, a bar, and they gave us all some sandwiches today and some like really good ice water, and that, I don't know, it was an amazing experience.
Yeah, we had a The ice water, it was in little metal cups.
It was in metal cups. It was like something about that it was perfect.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what it was about the cup, but it was extremely refreshing.
And they had like these plastic toothpicks with pickles on them that I think everyone really, really enjoyed.
Super tasty. Well, it was hot and you need the electrolytes.
Yeah, exactly. So What You Smokin' is an amazing space. They do catering as well. So I think everyone will be probably stopping there. So
great place for a bite to eat. Great place for a drink. And next door is Portable Pro, which is a portable toilet company, and their theme is the only way to go. But they will be providing a lot of porta potties for us here on the ride, so I wanted to give them a shout out.
Okay, so here's a question for you. So I have always called a portable restroom a kaibo.
Yes.
Do you call it a kaibo?
Absolutely.
And what does kaibo mean to you? How do you define that?
What does it stand for?
Yeah, kaibos.
Keep your bowels open.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I always say, keep your butt off the seat.
Very good.
Okay. Either way, it's, you got to go. Everyone's got to go. So you got to go.
Everyone's got to go.
So I think this is a good time to point out that basically the second half of the day from Rippey on, it was a little bit of a challenge as far as the road quality.
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons that we do the inspection ride, so that we can make note of potholes, cracks, and all of that good stuff, or bad stuff, all
Sure.
of that stuff.
Yeah, all the stuff.
And it gives a chance for the city, the county, and the state to either address the issue. If they have the funding, they can make changes. If they don't have the funding, they can maybe at the very least spray paint a hole or put a cone or something like that.
Yep.
So this will be an interesting stretch, and we're hopeful that some of the potholes, and actually there were some potholes that were fixed because we had to ride through some of that. I can't remember what you call that. The
chip seal.
Chip seal, the asphalt things. But I think this is a good time to kind of bring up cracks in general.
Yeah. So today we encountered what veteran riders will know is pretty notorious in cycling, and that is a large center crack along the highway. And it's one of the most dangerous things that you'll see when you're riding RAGBRAI. Sometimes that center crack is pretty wide, and even when it's not wide, it can really grab your tire and throw you from the bike. So it can be incredibly dangerous if you're not careful and if you don't cross it properly. I mean, and I usually try to avoid crossing it at all.
Yeah.
But a center crack is something to keep an eye out for. It can come up when previously there was no crack at all in the highway. And it can come up in even on what I would consider a nice highway. Yeah. So new riders and experienced riders alike, just be careful. Keep an eye out. This is the first day where we really saw them a lot, the center crack. So you think, oh, it's just a crack in the highway, no big deal. But like I said, it can really grab your tire and it can really slam you to the ground in an instant. So it's just something to be aware of. It's not dangerous unless you ride on top of it.
Yeah, and it's pretty easy to just avoid.
Yes.
Don't ride the crack.
Yeah. And it just also goes back to when you're riding a bike on a ride like RAGBRAI, you need to chatter a lot more than you would when you're riding alone or in a small group on your weekend ride. You need to say crack. You need to say hole. You need to call out when you come up to a rumble. If you're not talking a lot while you're riding about your conditions around you, you're not riding RAGBRAI correctly.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite things about RAGBRAI is yelling. Rumble!
Yes, exactly.
So,
yeah. And hopefully everyone knows what rumbles are, because we had plenty of those today as well. But basically they are the grooves in the pavement when you're driving to signal that a stop sign's coming up. So typically when you see the sign that says there's a stop sign ahead, there's typically those rumbles. And in Iowa, there's usually three sets of rumbles before the stop sign, sometimes two. And can you ride over them? Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's no big deal to ride over them. Most people try and go around them.
It's just mildly uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I'd rather ride over a rumble strip than crash any day of the week.
Oh, agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
So from Luther, we rolled on into Ames.
Yes.
And this is going to be our 6th visit to Ames.
Really?
Yep.
Go Cyclones.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, go Cyclones. No, they're wonderful. We love their hospitality. We love Ames. It's beautiful. And we had a police escort into town.
And we actually had a big rainstorm that came through. So we were delayed a little bit, but what a treat to have a police escort take us from, I think it was like the middle school, all the way right into Jack Trice Stadium, which is where the Iowa State Cyclones play football.
Yeah. So, and I say this as a Hawkeye, I enjoyed riding around Jack Trice Stadium. It's a beautiful stadium. It's like no other one that I have seen. You know, every stadium's a little bit unique, and to see it so up close and personal was amazing.
Yeah. And we got to ride around the, I guess you call it the concourse area. I think it's to be determined if all riders will get to do that. We'll stay tuned for that. But we do need to give a shout out to all the ISU students that were there kind of directing us and helping us get through it.
Yeah, they were awesome. I love to see their enthusiasm. I love them supporting the ride. And it was just really cool to be, I had no questions about where to go.
Yeah.
And it was just really cool to be welcomed in that way.
Yeah.
We also rolled past my very favorite place in Ames, which is the Ryman Gardens.
Oh my gosh, it was beautiful.
Gorgeous, large gardens. And if you've heard me talk about Ames on the podcast before, you'll know that Iowa State is home to the Iowa Master Gardeners, which is a gardening program that I went through and really learned so much incredible knowledge about gardening. And they show off their skills there.
Yeah. Ames in general is just a beautiful place. I lived here way back in the day, but anyway.
So Ames is obviously home to Iowa State University and was therefore named the 5th smartest city in America.
What?
Yeah.
Does that make us smart because we're here right now?
I'd like to think so. It's also named the healthiest city in the country and one of the happiest small places in America. So, yeah, and I got those facts from the Iowa Bike Towns by Eugene Schlaman.
Oh,
so,
thanks, Eugene.
Yep.
Yeah. Good. Well, I think that, wraps up the day. I mean, we century ride if you want to. If you don't want to, you're still going to do about 82 miles. So, and I thought it was just a beautiful day all over.
Absolutely. And I hope the day is just as good for you because the band for Ames is Hairball.
Oh, yeah.
So it's going to be a good time from start to finish on day 3 of RAGBRAI.
Okay. Well, stay tuned. We'll be back tomorrow.
Talk to you then.
Well, listeners, that is it for this week. We both want to thank you for tuning in to listen to the Just Go Bike podcast.
And if you'd like to contact us with a comment about the podcast, or maybe you have a topic in mind, you can reach us at justgobikepodcast@gmail.com, or you can also follow us on social media at Just Go Bike on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Please rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast, especially if you're a fan. And if you have any extra time, pop on over to the Murphology podcast for more bike adventure interviews.
All right, that's a wrap. We'll be back next week. Until then, just go bike!